Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about how we can create a jump animation for the character. Well, the first necessary thing is a character that's been rigged from the side view. If you're not familiar with the rigging process yet, check out this video. The next thing is the most important part of the animation, which is having a good reference, which in this case I'll be using an animation I made before as my reference. After that, I work on creating key poses and anticipation based on the reference. Then I improve the animation path of the controllers. After that, I create the overlapping and follow-through animation for it. And in the end, I animate the eyes and the shadow of the character to achieve such a fascinating result. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into how you can do all of these and what tips are needed to achieve better results. But before, if you're interested in learning rigging and character animation and motion graphic techniques, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click on the bell and turn on the notification, since the project files are free in the first few days of release. Okay, as I said in previous videos, to achieve better results in making animations, it's better to use references. In this particular tutorial, I'll be using an animation that I made before, and I'll be using the poses that I made here as references. I go back to the main comp. First thing first, I tidy up the timeline. I shy the layers that I don't need. I don't need the controllers of the hand, head, neck, and hip, so I hide them, and I just shy the controllers of the head and shoulders. After that, I select the controllers of the hand and disable their eye key. Then in FK, individual control, and then I create keyframes for upper, lower, and goal. I do the same for the other hand as well. Then I select the controllers of the leg, open their positions and rotation, and create keyframes for them. Then I create keyframes for rotation of the head and the position and rotation of the body. And then I hit the U button so I can see all the keyframes. I change the first pose of the character a little bit. I move the left leg back a bit. I also move the body to the back a little bit, so it would be in the middle of the legs. For the next pose, I'll create this pose for the character. As you can see, the body of the character rotates forward, and the head of the character moves forward as well. The hands move up too, and basically the character is getting ready to jump. So I back to the main comp, I move 7 frames forward. I rotate the body of the character forward a bit. I set it to 5. I do the same for the head as well. I rotate it a bit and set it to 5. And I rotate the arms up a bit like this. I do the same for this arm too. And then I make the keyframes easy. I create the keyframes for the leg for this pose as well. In the next pose, the character moves down and is getting ready to jump. I move forward by 7 frames. The body gets lowered. I move the back leg to the back. I enable tidal action safe so that I can use it as the ground. So I move up the leg even more. And the arms should be in the back. And the head of the character looks like this. And then I create all the other keyframes too. If you are interested in making animations and motion graphics in After Effects and you're still at the beginning of learning or even a professional, I recommend you to enroll in Motion Hero course, because in this masterclass I talked about all the necessary topics that a pro motion designer needs with lots of practice and projects. So you have the fastest path toward perfection and you wouldn't have to do the same mistakes as I did. So enroll now and take your skills to the next level. Let's work on the next pose. In the next pose, the character should be here in the air, and his legs should be in this position. The body rotates back a little bit, and the arms should be up here. I move forward by 10 frames, and now I have to move the body in the air. In the beginning, the body of the character is located here. Let me put this ruler here. Right here, the character jumps and is located here. And in the end, it should land right here. So I move 10 frames forward from this point and I place the body of the character right here. It should rotate backward. The head must be like this. The arms should go up. And to fix the legs, what I need to do first is come back here. A few frames forward, right here I create keyframes for the controllers of the legs. I move forward, the legs should be bent a bit. And here the legs should look like this. I have to move the body lower a bit, so I select the controllers of the body and the legs and lower them, so the hands would be visible. I place the keyframes right here so the legs look stretched and straight. Until here, the rotation of the body remains the same, a little bit backward. And in this position, it looks like this. Well, for the next pose, the character should be like this. I go back to the main comp, I move 7 frames forward. The legs controller should place here. And then I place the body here, where the legs are straight. And I rotate the feet up. Here the body should rotate this way. In this pose, the hands move up just a bit. And right here, I select the keyframe of the body position and then I open the graph editor. I double click on it. I enable the continuous option so I can move the 2 points at the same time. I hold shift and move them up. And then I increase their ease in a bit here. So the speed of the body decreases and doesn't have any pause here. And then I have to curve the path of the animation of the body. Here I go 2 frames forward, and I move the body this way. Like this. I make the keyframes continuous. Again, I go 3 frames forward and the body lowers a bit. Here, the rotation of the legs should be 0. And I also have to fix their positions a bit here. I duplicate this rotation keyframe here. This should be easy. And until here, the body rotates forward. And then in the next pose, the character slowly stands up. Okay, after 9 frames, the body moves up. And I set the rotation to 0. And the arms should move to the back. Like this. Here the head should be like this. And when he lands, like this. And right here, it should be set to -5. Again, 7 frames forward, I set it to 0. Alright, let's check out the animation so far. Well, I select all these keyframes and move by 2 frames ahead, so the animation of bowing gets slower. Okay, after that, I'll be working on fixing the animation path of the leg controllers. Now let's work on the swing animation of the arm. I go 15 frames forward, and I move the arms forward. I do the same for the other hand too. Again, 15 frames forward, and I move the arms like this. I do the same for the other arms as well. First, I make it straight, and then I place it here. Again, 15 frames forward, and I place the hands like this. The other arm should also look like this. Okay, let's check it out and see how it is. I move these keyframes back a bit so that the hand falling animation is faster. And I overlap the keyframes. Well, to make the head animation overlap and looks more alive, I come here, I select these keyframes, I move them forward a bit. Then 7 frames ahead, I set it to 0. Let's check it out. Okay, after the body is completely straight, I go 7 frames ahead and rotate the body to the back a bit. Again, 7 frames ahead and I set it to 0. And I delete this keyframe and I place these two right here. And I move this keyframe afar a bit. I decrease the backward a bit. I think -3 is better. After that, when the body is towards the back, the head should also rotate to the back. When the rotation of the body is 0, the rotation of the head should also be 0. And I move the head keyframes forward a bit. Let's check it out. It looks better. And here I change the legs like this. And I fix the motion path again. I make these keyframes linear so that the legs animation doesn't have any pause. Okay, after the jumping animation is done, it's time to work on the animation of the eyes. When the character lands, it's better for his eyes to close, and when he's standing to open. So I come here, I open the head layer. I unshy it so I can have it in the timeline. I open its contents. In the eyelid, stroke, transform, and I set the opacity to 100. I create a keyframe for its opacity. I create a keyframe for the path of the stroke, and another one for the path of the fill. I hit use so the keyframes would be visible. At first the stroke shouldn't be visible, so I set it to 0. I enable this option so I can see the path of the shapes. To make the animating process easier, I go to second 5 and here I do the animating first, then I move the keyframes to their respective places. I go a frame forward and I make the stroke visible. 2 frames ahead, I select one point of the stroke path and hit Ctrl A, then I move the stroke down here. And then I change the path of the fill. I think it's better I move the stroke up a bit. I do the same for the path of the fill. Then I open the eye shape. And I create keyframe for the path of the eyebrow. I hit U. Here I select the path of the eyebrow and place it lower a bit. And to make the corners of the stroke round, I open the stroke, I set the line cap to round cap. I press U again. I select all the keyframes and make them easy ease. 6 frames ahead, I copy and paste these keyframes here. Again 3 frames ahead, I copy and paste these keyframes. 1 frame back and I copy and paste this one keyframe here. So the closing animation of the eye would be created. Here the path of the stroke is a bit long, so I make it shorter. I copy and paste this keyframe here too. After the animation of blinking is done, I go back and move the closing keyframes of the eye so that when the character is landing, his eyes would be closed. And here his eyes are slowly opening. Okay, let's see. Well, it looks good. Now let's work on animating the shadow. I select the shadow, I unshy it. I open its position. I create a keyframe for it. I make it easy ease. I move it here. And here I move it to this side. And here I just make it smaller a bit. Here I move it under the character. Let's check it out. It looks good. Thanks for watching.